Alright, today we are going to be doing proportions. Proportions are easy to do. The trick is in the setup. So if you pay attention to the setup, the actual mathematics part is easy. So let's talk about proportions and what they are first. That might help. Proportions are a numerical expression of a relationship between two or more things or groups of things. For instance, over here we're going to have 12 yards of lumber is going to cost you $40. So there's this relationship between however much lumber one buys and however much money that costs. That's a relationship. And that would be expressed by a proportion of 12 to 40. And that would be half of the proportion compared to the 30 yards to some amount of money. And we would solve that proportion to see what we're missing here. So we would have this as a ratio, this as a ratio, and a proportion is a comparison of two or more ratios, which again is a numerical expression of relationship. And I have some different examples here. There are more, but here are three of the basic types, and there's one snafu at the end I'm going to warn you not to fall for. So here we go. Let's just get into it. So here we have 12 yards of lumber costing $40 and 30 yards of lumber costing, we don't know. We just know that that's how much 12 yards cost, but we don't need 12 yards, we need 30. So what do we do? First off, we do lines and labels. Lines and labels. Lines and labels. Yes, this is important. Lines and labels, lines and labels, lines and labels. That is the key for proportions, lines and labels. So here are our lines. This will be one relationship, this will be the other one. I'm going to have, this will be the top one, so we're going to have yards on top. And as long as the tops match, we're good to go. Then the bottoms match. The bottoms, we're going to have money down there. And the money can be on top, yards can be on bottom, doesn't even matter. As long as the tops match each other and the bottoms match each other, we're good to go. So this top one here, I'm going to put on this one here. So we have 12 yards. Where does the 12 go if it's 12 yards? Well, it goes like by the yards. So we're going to put 12 there, 12 yards. That tells us right where to put it. And then what is the numerical of money that goes with the 12 yards? Well, $40. $40. 40 goes with the 12. That is one relationship in this proportion that we're setting up. Well, let's do this one here. That one I'm going to put over here. And I'll probably erase this line here in just a second because it's kind of in the way. But 30 yards, does it go on the top or bottom? Well, because we put our labels there first, lines and labels, we know right where it goes. It goes right on the top, 30. And the question mark, well, that's our X. So now we are set up. I guess I could have brought that over here like so. So this is our proportion. We have set up this proportion, this numerical expression of the relationship between these two things to unlock the mystery of this one. Now, those of you who see my other videos with the zoop pow, and just knock it out, you will see that this is a lot the same thing. It's coming up again. That zoop pow thing at the basic level comes up all kinds of places. So we start on where's the X? X marks the spot, kind of like a treasure map. So we go over here. That means this over here, we can just forget about it. So we're here. And we don't start with the X, we start with the flip side of the X. X is always the end of the treasure map, so that's where the end is going to be. So we start on the opposite, the flip side. Cross corner, zoop, pow. Now here in the middle here, this reminds us that we are to multiply. I hope that shows up on the video there. But 30 times 40. So we have 30 times 40. And again, zeros are nifty. If you remember that lesson, we can just kind of take the zeros and put them on the shelf over there. Multiply 4 times 3 and get 12. And then we take the zeros back off the shelf and we put them back on. So we have 1200. So 30 times 40 is 1200. Now when we cross this line here, that line means divided by. So we have 1200 divided by 12. Well, 1200 divided by 12, again, we just 12 divided by 12 is 1, but we still have the two zeros there, so I'm just going to rewrite those up here, is 100. So we have $100 is going to be our final answer here. So if we have 12 yards of lumber at $40, that means 30 yards of lumber would be $100. And again, there's a way, first you do a reality check to see if that makes sense. Well, 12, you double that, triple that, and a little more. Well, you triple 30, 30, 60, 90, and a little more is 100. So yeah, that's probably right. And we showed how to check these in a previous video. You multiply these two, see if they come up the same, 1200. So 12 times 100 is also 1200. So if the cross-multiplying products equal each other, then you know that it is, in fact, a proportion. Okay, so let's move on to this next kind. This next kind is a little more concrete, hands-on. It's like we have this picture here, and actually I just did this. I made a project for my wife for her birthday, and I made it big at first, this drawing print piece of art, and I needed to shrink it down into about a 4 by 6. But I needed the proportions to be right, so as I shrunk it down, I had to figure out how long to make each of these so that it would fit in the frame correctly, because again, I had made it bigger than that. So let's say we have a 4 by 6 here, but let's say we're wanting to blow it up this time. We have a 20-inch on one side, and we need to know how long to make this. We know that's going to be 20 inches, but we need to know how long this is going to be to fit. So again, we can set up our proportions. How do we start? Lines and labels, lines and labels. Lines and labels, lines and labels. Lines, then we do our labels. Well, here we have inches and inches, so that may not help us. So you need to make up some labels that make sense to you. In this case, I'm going to go short, long. So I'm going to say short, short, long, long. Again, it doesn't matter so much what you label them as long as you understand. And the tops have to match each other, the bottoms have to match each other. So now we can fill that in. So on this side that we know, I'm going to use this for the one we know. I'm going to use this one for the one we don't know. So over here, which one is the short side, the 4 or the 6? Well, we have the 4. So that goes on the short side. Making the long side that matches the 4. The 4 is in relation to the 6. And they're all inches already, so we don't have to convert ahead of time. If one was feet, we would need to convert everything to whatever we need in inches or feet first before you start doing your mathematics maneuvering, whatever that would be. Then over here we have 20 inches. Now is the 20 on the short side or the long side? It's on the short side. So we put our 20 on the short side. And we're trying to find out the long side. So notice we have the same kind of setup here as here. Just so happens the x is in the same place, but it doesn't matter where the x is, it would still get the exact same answer. That's one of the beauty of proportions and the lines and labels first. If the lines and labels are correct, it's really difficult to put the numbers in the wrong place. So as we start here, again, x is on this side, so take this over, get rid of that. So now we're left with this. Flip side of the x, cross and around, zoop, pow. This reminds us to multiply, 6 times 20. Again, we have a nifty 0 there, so if we go 6 times 20, or 20 times 6, we can do it long ways, 0, and this would be 12, 120, or we could have just forgot that 0. 6 times 2 is 12, put the 0 back on. Either way, you get to 120. So this is 120 divided by 4. So 120 divided by 4, if you want to do it this way, it'd be 3. Subtract there. You go, let me see, 0. And this could be interesting by the time we get done. Okay, so 4 times 3 is 12, 0, 0. Okay, we're done. Woohoo! So it's 30. And let's see if that works. So the way to check it again is to do the cross-multiplying thing. 6 times 20 is 120. And 4 times 30. 4 times 3 is 12. Add the 0 is also 120. So sure enough, that is a proportion. So our answer is 30 inches is what the bottom is going to have to be. See how that works? It's easy. Anybody can do it. Let's go over here. Now this one, the math is just as easy, except that there is a trick. Often there is a missing factor in these. If they tell you, let's say, a ball game, wins, losses, they may or may not tell you the total amount of games, but that is a factor. Because if they're asking you how many wins compared to the total games, and they don't give it to you, you just add the total games. 3 wins, 4 losses, 7 games total. So you have to keep in mind, read carefully what they're asking you for. So here we have a gallon, 2 gallons of blue paint, or dye, whichever, and we have 3 gallons of gray dye to make a certain dye, let's say, for blue jeans. But what we need is we need 30 gallons altogether. So the question is, we're going to order blue. We have all kinds of gray, but we need to know how many blue to order. Gray we just keep in stock because we use it for a whole lot of colors. But we need these special blues to make that dye, and we need 30 gallons of it. We don't want to order more than we need to. We're going to be losing money. So how many blues do we order? Well, Let's first set up our lines and labels because that's how we start. We do our lines, and then our labels. Again, the trick to the labels is what are they asking? We know it's how many blues, so we can go ahead and put blue here. Blue, blue. We know that's going to be one of them. Is it blue to gray? Is it asking us we got 30 gallons of gray? Or how many gray? No. If you look at it carefully, we got how many gallons of blue dye do we need to make 30 gallons of the whole mix? The total of all of them. So the question you need to figure out is, okay, well if I have blue, how many blues do I have? Well, I have 2. But if I have 2 blues, to what? To gray? No, it's not asking how many grays to order, it's how many to mix. So I'm just going to put a T here. Actually, I'll write it all out. Total. So how many blue to the total? So how many total do I have? I have 5. It's not 2 blue to the 3 gray, it's the 2 blue to the total mix. Well, one batch of a total mix is 5 gallons. So I need to put 5 gallons here, or just 5. So 2 to 5. Okay, that's the tricky part. That's about the only part that's kind of complicated in these, is reading that carefully. So then I go over here. Well, I need a 30-gallon mix, 30-gallon total. Is that blues, or is that total? Well, the 30 is the total. 30 total. So we need to know how many blues for all of this. See how that works? So now again, we go to the X. It's on the right-hand side again. Get rid of that. We don't need it for now. Flip side of the X, cross corner, zoop, pow. So now we go from 30 times 2 is 60 times 5 is, hold on a second. And we can do it long ways or short ways. 6 times 5 is 30, just 6 times 5. Add the other 0 on, and we get 300. I did it differently than here just to kind of show you that there are different ways to do it. So we got 300. So we have 30 times, times 2 is 60. 60 here. See what happens when you start doing it in your head? You see that? Follow the arrow, that's why we draw it there. Okay, so 30 times 2 is 60. 60 divided by 5. So you have 60 divided by 5. 1, subtract, 2, 10, 0. Yay, we're done. You thought I was going to do that wrong, didn't you? It's okay. It happens. Happens to all of us. So we have, what do we got here? 12. So we have 12. 12, we need 12 blues. So let's check it. 30 times 2 is 60. 12 times 5 is also 60. So, yep, that is correct. So now we know we need to order 12 gallons of blue. We'll have just the right amount for our mix, no extra expenses or any other thing, because of proportions. And again, the Zoop Pow thing comes up and knocks it out again, just like unit conversions, just like all kinds of things we've used that for. Anyway, so that's a little brief intro into proportions. No problem. Have fun. See you next time.